Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, you're checking out an updated solo Magicka Warden build for the Elder Scrolls Online. This is the ATRONACH, a build focused on passive damage and damage over time, all while holding down that block button and basically taking no damage yourself. This is one of the strongest builds I've ever played, and it can solo most content in the game, including overland, dungeons, world bosses, very, very easily. As usual, we'll be going over everything you need to know to make it work, including the stats, gear sets, skills, champion points, and a whole lot more, and all that's coming up next. All right, everybody, here we are back on the Magicka Warden with an update to our solo ATRONACH build. Really fun build, so let's jump right into it. Let's go ahead and buff up a little bit here in terms of our potion, and we might as well have some buffs on our back bar as well. And then make sure we have animal companions going. I think that's it. So sitting at about 40,000 max magicka, 23,000 max health fully buffed, 20k max stamina, 1800 magicka recovery, 1200 health recovery, and about 2000 spell damage. Now that does go up with our back bar enchant. Keep that in mind. And as far as our resistances, this is a heavy armor solo build. So the resists are quite good, coming in at about 29,000 spell and physical resist. Very nice for soloing any type of content that you want. Of course, we got 64 points into max magicka, being the Magicka Warden, which we are. Running the Lover Mundus. This is still a very good option for solo builds, so I do recommend it. And then Bewitched Sugar Skulls is our main food. This gives us max health, stamina, and magicka, as well as a little bit of extra health recovery, which is always nice for soloing. Now, if you don't have this, you can always run the purple tri-stat food. That's just fine as well. Minor Berserk, Major Prophecy. We'll talk about how we get all those buffs in just a minute. Now, in terms of the race, you guys know me. This is not a meta build, so absolutely any race is fine for this setup, being a solo build. But I do really like Nord for a lot of solo builds, this one included. We do get the extra max health, which is great for soloing. We get extra max stamina, which is awesome considering this is a perma-block build. We also get the extra ult gen and then the extra physical and spell resistance. So overall, Nords are quite nice if you do like solo play, and you can also be a tank very easily on the Nord. But like I said, basically any race is fine. Magicka, stamina race, it's not a huge difference either way. Now in terms of potions, I do recommend tri-stat potions on this build since it is more of a tanky focus. You will benefit from the extra magicka and stamina that you get from tri-stat potions. If you don't have those or you don't want to spend the gold, then just basic magicka potions is what you'll want. That'll be pretty good as well. So that is the basics. Let's talk about the sets now. Starting with our first 5-piece set, I am still using the Frozen Watcher set. This is a heavy armor dungeon set. It does give you some good bonuses: max stamina, max health, max stamina. And then the 5-piece is perfect for a warden. You summon a blizzard around you while blocking. It does over 2k frost damage every second. You also have an increased chance to apply chilled, that chilled status effect. So it is very, very nice on the Magicka Warden. Here's what it looks like if you're not familiar. So while blocking, you basically get this huge AoE radius around you. It does do pretty good frost damage. It does apply the chilled status effect as well. So really nice solo set. Pretty nice for tanking as well, since we are going to be blocking a lot to proc this. It works equally well on tank builds. And basically we're going to be applying this with a lot of our other damage and damage over time to make a fun solo build that works. Now, like I said, it is a heavy armor build, so we are going to run 5 pieces of this on the body. And I figured the easiest would just be the chest, waist, hands, legs, and feet, since those are the easiest pieces to pick up. Now, in terms of the traits, since this is a block-focused build, I did drop Divines to go for a combination of Sturdy and Infused. So Sturdy on my small pieces and then Infused on the large pieces. You can see, though, that I have max magicka enchants on everything. For our other 5-piece set, we're just going to be running that on the back bar, and that's going to be Winter's Respite. That gives us magicka recovery, max magicka, 2 bonuses there, and then casting abilities that leave an effect on the ground. Create a circle of healing frost that does about 2,500 health every 1 second, and it can occur every 10 seconds. So not only is this just a great like healer / tank set, it's pretty nice for soloing too, because every time we do our basic ground effect which is going to be either blockade of elements or unstable wall. We get that free heal. You can see it does about 2,700 per second with our champion points active. So I like it. I feel like it's really good utility as far as soloing. It's going to keep you alive while you are blocking, and we basically don't even need any healing. We do have one emergency heal, but other than that, yeah, Winter's Respite. This set is going to do all the healing for us. So we are running that 3 pieces of jewelry, neck, and 2 rings. I have 1 spell damage enchant, 2 Magicka recovery enchants, and then we are running the back bar ice staff. So obviously this fits in really well with the frost damage theme of the build. And we'll just want the infused trait if we can get it. That's going to give us as much spell damage as possible. For the monster set, we're going with Ice Heart on this setup. Does nice frost damage, gives us extra spell critical, which is really helpful on a heavy armor build. And of course the free damage shield for 6 seconds. This is really nice. I do recommend you pick it up. Now, if you can, I would do 1 piece of medium for the monster set and 1 piece of light. That's just going to give us the most stats possible on this build due to the Undaunted passives. 5 heavy, 1 medium, 1 light. Doesn't matter which one's heavy or which one is light, but 1 of each would be ideal there. And then, like we said, infused on the big pieces, sturdy on the small pieces. So I think I have 3 infused and 4 sturdy. Again, max Magicka on everything. Now, if you've been keeping track, because I'm back barring the winter set, I do have a free front bar set where I can basically slot anything that I want for free on my front bar, sword and shield. So just a basic, really easy option is going to be the willpower set. You can see this gives us almost 1,800 extra max Magicka when we're on our front bar, and that's where we're doing all our damage. So that means all of our damage is going to be even higher front barring the willpower set. Now, you can do other front bar sets. You can do arena sets. You could do the Maelstrom one-handed shield. You could do the new Vateshran Hollows one-handed shield. If you have access to those, go for it. But just the basic option that everybody can get, willpower, sword and shield. Doesn't matter what the weapon is. In fact, you could run a mace. You could run a dagger. Doesn't matter. I did change it over to Nirnhond for a little bit extra spell damage. That does help with a little extra damage overall. For the shield, infused, I think, is a pretty good trait on this setup, just for the extra max Magicka. Like I said, more max Magicka, more damage. That does help since we are a heavy armor build. All right, so that is the setup. We have Frozen Watcher on the body, Winter's Respite, jewelry and back bar, Frost Staff. We've got the Ice Heart monster set, got the Ice Heart monster set, and then front bar of your choice. Willpower will be a very easy option. So let's talk about the skills next. Starting out on our front bar, sword and shield, we have Arctic Blast. And I mentioned there is a emergency heal on this build, and that's what Arctic Blast is. This is from the Winter's Embrace skill line, 3rd ability here. Pretty nice skill for soloing. I would say it's a decent burst heal. It also does a heal over time for 5 seconds and a stun. The stun is great for clearing through trash, grinding experience, that kind of thing. So I will use it to start off a fight, especially if I'm grinding. I have a lot of basic enemies around me. The extra stun is really good. Other than that, it's just a nice burst heal. Great option. Next up, Deep Fissure from Animal Companions. It's going to be our main sort of burst damage skill. And not only that, it's also debuffing all the enemies in front of us by about 6,000 for 6 seconds. So that's actually a really nice debuff. Go ahead and cast it like that. It does hit all the enemies in front of you. So it's nice for dealing with AoE as well. Next up, Bird of Prey, also from Animal Companions. This is a great utility skill. It does give us major expedition, so some extra movement speed is nice when we need it. And then Minor Berserk increases all of our damage done by 5%. We also get some extra damage from the passives here, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then Defensive Stance. This is going to be basically a passive buff from the one-handed shield skill line, remembering that we are basically perma-blocking on this solo build. So how does Defensive Stance help with that? Well, it does give you a nice bonus to block here. The damage you can block is increased by 10%, and the cost of blocking is reduced by 10%. So it's a really nice passive skill. You can also pop it for an extra damage shield. Like I said, depending on your front bar weapon, you can substitute this with other skills, right? If you want to run the Maelstrom one-handed shield, you could run Heroic Slash here. If you want to run the Vateshran Hollows sword and shield, you could run Power Slam here. It's really up to you. But this is the easiest, most simple option, Defensive Stance. And then our last regular ability, another passive. That's how easy this build is. It's the Inner Light skill from the Mages Guild skill line, first skill here. This does give us 5% extra max Magicka, a little bit more with our passives. Then we get the spell critical bonus for free, so even more spell critical is good. Remember, this is a heavy armor setup, so as much critical as we can get, that's a good thing. And then for the ultimate, it's really up to you. I have a passive ultimate slotted here, which I thought was nice. Reviving Barrier. I'm really only going to use this if I'm like about to die, but it does give me 10% Magicka recovery on the front bar just for having this skill slotted. So it's actually pretty nice for that. So that's what I'm using there. You could use other skills like Meteor if you want. You could use the Sword and Shield ultimate. It's really up to you. Now let's talk about the back bar next. This is our Frost Staff, and we have Blockade of Frost for the Destruction Staff skill line. That's the second ability here. And the morph is up to you as well. You could do the other morph, Unstable Wall of Frost. That would be good for a little bit extra damage. This is just nice for a little bit of extra duration. It also gives you a damage shield now in the Markarth DLC, which kind of fits the whole theme of this build. So it is pretty nice, easy to maintain. Make sure it's up all the time. Combined with that, for even more frost damage, we'll be running Gripping Shards. Now this is a Warden class skill. It does come from Winter's Embrace. That's the second ability here. There's actually two morphs. Both are pretty good on this build. You can run the other morph, which is ranged, or you can run this morph, which is just targeted at your feet. I just like this because it's easy. It's also an easy way to proc our winter set on the back bar. So that's what I'm using there. Next up, more animal companions. This is going to be Fetcher Infection. Third ability there. This is the Magicka morph, so this is what we'll want. Pretty good single target damage over time. You also get 50% increased damage every second cast, and minor vulnerability. So that's going to cause your enemies to take even more damage. So great skill. Make sure you keep that up as much as possible. And then last but not least, just our two buffs on the back bar. First, from Winter's Embrace, we have Ice Fortress. This gives us our major resolve. That's our resistances plus minor protection. So with this, the build is already very tanky. Great buff. Keep that up. And then Bullnetch from Animal Companions. That's the second to last ability. So this gives us major brutality and sorcery, so that's increasing our spell damage. It also removes a negative effect, and it restores stamina. So why a stamina buff on the Magicka Warden? Well, basically what this does, when we have up Bullnetch, this allows us to block pretty much infinitely on our front bar. Remember, blocking with a sword and shield costs stamina. It also turns off your stamina recovery, but the Bullnetch is not stamina recovery. It's just pure stamina back to your resource pool. So it actually ignores the cost of blocking, basically, and you can block almost infinitely running Bullnetch. So you really need that stamina morph to make this build work. If you have the other morph, you'll need to switch that up, because this is definitely essential for the build. And then finally, our ultimate is going to be Northern Storm. I am backbarring this. It only gives you the bonus once it's active. That means it doesn't matter if you backbar it. Like I said, we can front bar an ultimate for just pure passives, and then we're just going to pop Northern Storm when we need it. So it's very good frost damage. It also increases our max Magicka by 15%. Yeah, that's pretty good for 30 seconds. Nice buff. And we get major protection for 8 seconds as well. So great ultimate. Fits the theme of the build. So there you go. All right, so let's take on a world boss really quick and see how this works. On the back bar, just maintain your two buffs. Ice Fortress, Bullnetch, and then you're going to apply your back bar dots, right? Fetcher Infection, there's our shards, and then Wall of Frost. Bar swap and block right away. You can see our Frozen Watcher is already proccing, doing damage for us. And then you can throw in about 2 or 3 Deep Fissures on the front bar while blocking, right? So you're block casting, and then bar swap back. Same thing, buffs, apply your dots. If your ultimate's up, you can go ahead and pop that as well. Front bar, make sure you're holding block. And then just, again, 2 or 3 sub-assaults. And if you're quick enough on the rotation, you won't need to refresh your back bar dots. You'll only need to refresh them once every 2 rotations. So you can do that if you want. But you can see, super easy build. All you got to do is hold block. And we'll take care of this world boss really quick. Couple more rotations. Sometimes it's good to move, by the way. Just kind of to aim a little bit better. So I'm just moving around the side, making sure they all get hit. And there you go. All right, let's talk passives. What do you need to make this work? Under class passives, all of your animal companion skills are good. Bond with Nature, this does give you passive healing. It's great. Savage Beast does give us extra ultimate generation from that Deep Fissure or any of our animal companion skills, which is really good. Flourish for the extra Magicka recovery especially is important on this build. And then Advanced Species gives us bonus damage, 4% front and back. All the passives are good there. Green Balance, we're actually not using any Green Balance skills, though you could if you wanted to make this build into a healer or something like that. So the main passive that you'll want that's worth the 2 points is actually Maturation. This gives you the minor toughness buff for yourself or your group. So max health increased by 10% for 20 seconds anytime you activate any type of heal. So that could even be, you know, the Animal Companion's passive heal right there, which I get from, you know, activating an Animal Companion skill. Now I have 10% extra health, which is really cool. So that's what I'd recommend for that skill tree. And then Winter's Embrace. Glacial Presence is not bad. Frozen Armor is good for the extra resistances. Icy Aura is good for the snare reduction. And then Piercing Cold, definitely strong. Increased magic and frost damage. It's going to buff all of our damage. So make sure you put 2 points there. In terms of one-handed shield, yes, you want all of these, definitely for your defensive buffs. And then Destruction Staff to kind of buff those back bar skills. Heavy armor passives. Remember, this is a 5 heavy build, so all of those are good to have. Guild passives, we talked about, you know, Mage's Guild. You can get some extra passive stats here from Magicka Controller by running Inner Light, or even more if you run, you know, Meteor on the front bar. So that's the best one there. Sigic Order, we're not using those. Undaunted, we did mention, you know, extra 6% stats is pretty good on this setup if you're max level Undaunted. Racial passives, obviously, yes. Alchemy Medicinal use is going to be helpful for that extra potion duration. And then let's talk champion points. For the solo build, 23 into Warlord, got 56 into Tenacity. I forgot to mention this, but if your stamina is getting low, or your Magicka is getting low, remember you can heavy attack. Front bar, heavy attack will restore stamina. Back bar, heavy attack will restore Magicka. This gives you even more back, so that's good. Arcanist, 100 here for the extra Magicka recovery. 15 into Healthy, extra health recovery is not bad. 48 Shadow Ward, reducing the cost of that block, really helpful on this build. 28 into Tumbling, and then in the blue tree, 32 Blessed. 31 Elfborn, 64 Elemental Expert, 1 left over in Spell Erosion, 61 Mastered Arms, and 81 into Thaumaturge. And then our red tree, 81 Ironclad, 56 into Hardying Elemental Defender, 40 into Thick-Skinned, and 37 into Bastion. I think that about covers it. If you're curious about the outfit style, this is just the style of the pieces. So obviously the Ice Heart Helm and Shoulder is what I'm using. And then Frozen Watcher is a heavy armor style called Meridian. That's what I'm using on the body pieces. A little bit of a blue dye there. And then Sword and Shield, since we are a Nord, Ancestral Nord style. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up our solo Magicka Warden build update. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Of course, if you did, don't forget to crush that like button and make sure you're subscribed right here for many more ESO builds and guides in the future. If you'd like to support the channel further, there'll be links down below to my social media as well as my website, hacktheminotaur.com, which, by the way, has written versions of all my ESO builds posted there. If you have any questions on skills, gear set options, champion points, everything is listed there for you. Finally, if you're interested in becoming a channel member right here at HDM, we are starting to roll out members-only videos here on the channel, including exclusive build videos and guides, so click the join button for more information on that. And as always, thanks again for watching. I hope you're doing well. Stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next video.